Hello, everyone. Welcome to the EJG3 show. This is your host, Eddie Gallagher. I am here with Mike Schmidt. Mike, thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Eddie. Happy to be here.
All right, so we will be discussing round 3 and 4, which is the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight. But also, we're going to recap the first two rounds, round of 64 and the round of 32. So let's start off with basketball over the weekend. What did you make of it?
Um, I think the biggest takeaway for me is, I know it's something we'll probably talk about later, the kind of the chalk of the tournament. There hasn't been a whole lot of underdogs that have really advanced. I mean, if you look at the teams that are left, Arkansas is a 10 seed, and I don't know, maybe you disagree. That's not a Cinderella to me. I mean, that's a Calipari coach team with five-star recruits everywhere. I mean, they've got guys like John L. Davis that made a Final Four run with FAU. They're pretty stacked. So that's really what stuck out to me is the big boys that really showed up this tournament. And what are your
Yeah, no,
thoughts?
certainly. We'll discuss that. But let's first start off with the ACC. 3 out of 4 teams lost in the first round. I'm a Syracuse guy. They play in the ACC. Um, is this a bad? First off, is this a bad look that just one team advanced to the Sweet 16? Or like, is it bad? Like, what does it say about the ACC?
I think it's bizarre. Outside of Duke, I think we'd both agree that Duke right now is a wagon. I mean, they are, in my eyes, the best team in college basketball. But outside of Duke, I mean, you saw Louisville had a great season. I thought they got a bad draw having to go against a really good Creighton team that was ranked as a 9 seed. I think that was a bad draw. But again, I believe that game was played in Lexington.
Yes.
So should have been big home court advantage for Louisville, and they just really did not show up. I think that was disappointing for a team that looked good all year in the ACC. But then you look at other teams like North Carolina. North Carolina, I feel like should be hand in hand with these other top teams in terms of the talent they're recruiting in the transfer portal, and they just didn't have that. They didn't have that usual North Carolina firepower, and obviously the controversy of them getting into the tournament. But I mean, they won a playing game and then got bounced, and it just really wasn't an impressive display from the ACC. I think a real lack of getting talented players and from high school and the transfer portal just wasn't there.
Yeah. So first off, very disappointing. When I view ACC, I'm thinking ACC basketball. I'm viewing dominance, like Duke, North Carolina, Syracuse. But instead, I just see pathetic. I mean, what they need to do is empty their pockets. And hey, we got to pay big time money to big time players, and you know, I've watched Clemson a, a lot. A veteran group. Chase Hunter, Shefflin. I believe they made it to the Elite Eight or the Final Four one year. Um, and they just got handed by McNeese. I mean, pretty surprising. I mean, Shefflin only scored 1 point. Um,
Yep.
and I think last year's tournament. I think what did they have? They had a couple, or maybe 3 years ago. They had 3 out of 4 teams in the Final Four.
Yeah, I mean, the ACC was looking like the powerhouse of college basketball, and now, I mean, the SEC completely dominated college basketball, and I think that when you look at the coaches now in the SEC and the talent that's going to the SEC, it shouldn't be a surprise. But for a conference that's been so heavily dominated by football, I think it is frustrating for fans of college basketball that aren't an SEC fan to see, they're kind of getting the best of both worlds right now.
Yeah, for sure. I gotta say, the you know, it's not like the ACC were competitive in those games. I mean, yeah, I get, you know, Clemson lost by 2. They were getting crushed. They were losing by 10 in the last.
Yeah, that was never a ball game. I agree with you.
You know, they were losing by 10. North Carolina, they were getting blasted at halftime. Yeah, they made it closer and made it interesting the last 5 minutes, but that was really never a close game. And then, you just saw Creighton absolutely blast Louisville. I mean, which I've seen a lot of Creighton games too. Uh, they're a very good team. Unfortunately, they lost to Auburn, but they had a good season. They have good players. But yeah, no, I just think the ACC, they need to empty their pockets. They need to regroup. They need to find good talent. Um, and you know, North Carolina, it's one of the best brands in college basketball. I mean, I do think they can rebounds back, but it's going to take money. And the NIL, it's a new day. You gotta pay up.
I agree. I mean, I don't know if you caught the interview with Derek Queen after his game winner. Um, and he did say it in jest, but if you listen to the interview, he said, what's the relationship like with Kevin Willard? Why are you guys listening to him? And the first thing that he said was, well, he pays us the money. And that's, I think, the new reality that we have to get used to in college basketball is we've essentially turned it into a professional sport and guys are going to be following the money.
Okay, let's go to another topic. A topic that you discussed, the lack of Cinderella teams.
Yep.
Um, is it bad for the NCAA to not have those mid-major teams in, say, the Sweet 16?
To me, yes. I think that's one of the great things about this tournament is on a regular basis in that tournament, you were seeing teams that you might have never even heard of that are making these deep runs into the playoff. And the storylines from that are awesome, whether it be the Oaklands or the Loyola Chicagos or the VCUs back in the Shaka Smart day, where it makes the game so much more riveting to watch. And everybody wants to cheer for an underdog. And we've essentially eliminated eliminated that. And I don't know how those schools are going to be able to keep up now because the players from those schools that are proving to be solid college basketball players and are going to get plucked away from the blue bloods.
You know what I'm gonna say?
What do you think?
I don't care.
Oh my gosh.
Look,
What,
I'm
what, what,
sorry. I'm sorry. I do not want to see mid-major teams. No, no offense. In the Sweet 16, I want to see the powerhouses, battle it out. They make the most money. They generate the most money. I want to see the best players in the tournament. I mean, obviously, you know, you're gonna have upsets, but are we really gonna? Do you really want McNeese in the Final Four? I don't.
I would have loved to see it. There's something about guys that are staying 3, 4 years at college and they've been with each other for years and they've stuck close together and they're coming up this David and Goliath type stories and they're just sticking with these guys. I mean, just last year, I think the most electric part of the tournament, I mean, Jack Golke plays for Oakland, comes out and hits 10 threes against a very good Kentucky team. I mean, he ruined Calipari's Kentucky career. Calipari had to pack his bags and go. I think that's fun to me. It makes it more interesting.
I think you'll see upsets, but I agree. It does stink for these mid-major teams, but at the same time, you know what? You're still developing these guys for 2 years, and then you're going to better programs.
Yep.
I mean, it's not your fault, but I mean, look, I don't think you'll see the Steph Curry Davidson team again, or that
No.
run, that story line. But you look at uh, is it Ben Stritz? Am I saying his name right? From Drake?
Sturts, I believe.
Sturts.
But I could
Um,
be wrong too.
uh, we'll call him Sturts from Drake.
Yeah.
He had a good season for Drake, and now he's transferring to Iowa. So you do see some good with this, because you know, don't you want the kids to make money? I certainly do, and you know what? If they perform in these for these mid-major teams, they'll upgrade. It's about
Yeah.
upgrading, and I don't fault anybody for doing that. I
No,
mean,
I don't think you cannot fault the players for being, 18, 19, 20 years old and someone offering you potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars in some cases to go play basketball. That I mean, that's life changing.
okay. Let's talk about a guy, a coach, and a Hall of Famer who got bounced out. Rick Pitino at St. John's.
Sure.
Um, it did a failure that Rick Pitino didn't get this team in the Elite Eight.
I don't think so. When you view the history of where St. John's has been prior to Rick Pitino, I mean, they were an irrelevant Big East program. Um, he's turned them into a destination spot now, and they're winning basketball games and they're fun to watch. And I think from the lens of how good they were all season and the expectation going into the tournament, I can see how some people might say, well, yeah, they fell short because they did. I mean, this is a team that a lot of people had picked going to the Final Four. But when you look at the scope of the program and where they've been the last 10, 20 years, they've been irrelevant.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not like you lost to a Bowling Green. It's not like
No.
you lost to, McNeese, which I'm not t talking bad about those teams. Congratulations, McNeese, you won a game. But like you lost to Arkansas. Calipari is a Hall of Famer.
Yep.
Um, he has good players. Um, but I will say this: I thought that team had a chance to go to the Elite Eight. It
Me
would have
too.
been a nice storyline. Because Rick Pitino, St. John's, the history of the Big East. But unfortunately, they didn't get it done. And I do have a problem with Rick Pitino. He didn't play him in the last couple minutes of the game, which I thought he should have. Their best player, R.J. Lewis Jr. He benched him. I was not okay with it. Well, what was your thoughts of the benching?
I agree with you. I mean, RJ Lewis has been one of the best players in the entirety of college basketball through the whole season. I understand that he's 3 for 17 in the game, but in my opinion, you gotta ride the guy that got you there. So I disagree, but I mean, Rick Pitino, Hall of Fame coach. Uh, what does my opinion matter on it? But I think you got to ride the hot hand, and I know he was having a tough game, but if you lose that game and you play RJ Lewis, you say we've had our best guys in and we just weren't able to get it done today.
And by the way, it was a close game. I mean,
Yeah.
well, I don't care that he's 3 for 13 or 3 for 17. Like, you're not gonna bench LeBron James in the
No.
final couple minutes. You're not gonna bench Steph Curry. You're not gonna bench Jason Tatum. You gotta play your best guys, and this is one and done. So, who cares if he's 3 for 17?
Yeah, you give
You
him the
got you
ball
gotta
and
you
you
gotta let
say
him keep shooting.
absolutely. You say we've gotten here because of you, and if we win this game, it's going to be because of you. And if we lose, we had our best guys out there and we just didn't get it done. And
Kadari Richmond fouled out, so it wasn't just him that played bad. It was the whole team.
the whole team. I mean, what did they shoot from the 3 point line that game? It was like 10%, I think, maybe
Uh,
less. They couldn't make a shot.
um, yeah, no, and we knew that St. John's was not a good shooting team.
No, no, yeah, it's that was not a secret. I mean, Rick Pitino, what did he say earlier in the year when they shoot free throws and field goal attempts? It makes him want to kill himself. Like they've known what this team was. They were going to win by playing hard defense and just getting to the rim and just beating you down the entire game.
Yeah. But so they were you were close, 9%.
I mean, you
They were
can't win
they
a
they
basketball
they,
game
they
shooting
were
9% like
they were
that.
2 for 22.
I mean, that's terrible.
Yeah, and by the way, Arkansas was not that much better. They were 2 for 19.
No, just it was an ugly game.
Um, Yeah, no, look, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, and you
Right.
lost. And but you know what? He still did what year two at St. John's, so he's still developing the program, you know.
Agreed. I mean, the
But
growth was off the charts.
I think St. John's will be back next year.
Oh yeah, I mean
The-
they already went into the transfer portal and plucked Arizona State star, and they've got him coming to St. John's next year.
but I want to talk about the other guy. I want to talk about Calipari. No,
Yeah,
I said last show I thought he had pressure to win a game because you know when he was at Kentucky, yes, Kentucky's one of the best programs of all time. There's a lot of pressure, you know, being the head coach, and he was losing to not good teams. Like who did they lose last year?
Oakland.
Oakland. They lost to Oakland. And he got absolutely ripped. So I thought he had some pressure just to win at least one game because I did think they were going to lose to St. John's. But if he won one game, I would have been like, that's a successful season. But he won two. I
Yep,
think in our mind, oh, we thought he was a bad coach. But instead, no, he's still pretty good.
yep. I think we have to consider reevaluating his time at Kentucky. Um, is it can we put all that blame on him for those losses in the tournament the last few years? Um, he had top talent, and is it as much him as it is the guys that he had playing? Because you see what he's doing now. I mean, their best player right now hasn't played a single game in the tournament, and they're winning games.
So Arkansas, success right now.
Yeah,
Kentucky, failure. Because he had the best players um, that are top players in the NBA right now, and he just never got it done. One championship at Kentucky during that time. I'm sorry, there's no excuses. Um, but no, but I still give Calipari a lot of credit for making this run. Um, and then we'll see. They have a tough opponent in Texas Tech. Who, man, I was watching Texas Tech. They shoot a lot of threes. So if you can defend the 3 point line, you can make it really interesting.
yeah, I agree with you. They're gonna have to play defense on that line because if Texas Tech starts making them 2 for 22, you're not going to win another game doing that.
Yeah, no, I agree. Now, oh my gosh, we gotta talk about Dan Hurley and his
Yeah, sure.
you know, he cursed out the refs. He was crying on the podium. Let's just first start off about him cursing out the refs. Uh, did you think that was appropriate?
I Are we talking about when he's walking back in the tunnel?
Yeah, walking back in the tunnel.
It's it's definitely it gives off sore loser vibes. Um, I will say I thought it was kind of I mean I believe the journalist that recorded them was just on their phone. I don't even know if they were supposed to be there. Um, so I thought it's a little strange to be having your cell phone out and recording Hurley. But I don't think, I mean, I don't think anyone who saw this was surprised. I mean, Dan Hurley's a psycho and he does
Oh,
not
whoa,
try
whoa,
to hide
whoa!
that.
Let's not call him a psycho. He's a very emotional guy.
Whatever you want to call it, he's passionate for sure.
Um, yeah, no, look, I don't like it. First of all, you probably got a lot of calls in your 2 year run, you
Oh,
know,
absolutely.
so I don't want you here complaining about the refs. You know, your team battled hard versus a very talented Florida team. You just came up short. You know what? Be happy for your team. And look, I get it. You know, you wanted to get that three-peat. Didn't happen. But man, you're you're a Hall of Fame coach. Well, soon to be a Hall of Fame coach.
Mhm.
And look, I didn't like him crying in the post game. You know, do I need to go full Tom Hanks? You know, there's no crying. There's no crying in basketball. Like, are you kidding me? He's crying, sir. You know,
Yeah,
seriously. I mean, grow up. You know, look, I get it. Your players are leaving. You're a little emotional, but man, stop crying, dude.
I'd say that especially
I don't know why UConn coaches cry. I really don't. Gino, uh,
yeah.
Hurley. I mean, what's it with it? I mean, seriously, it's ridiculous.
I thought it was. I mean, when I watched that, it almost seemed like he was trying to like force himself to cry, which that's what I found to be the most weird about it. I was like, this doesn't seem like a genuine emotion you're having right now. It seemed very forced to me.
Yeah, no, I didn't like it. You know, you're a two-time champion. Act like it. You know, look, these coaches curse out the refs no matter what.
Yeah,
And go back in the locker room. You don't need to make a statement. Good luck, Baylor. Good luck. It's like, dude, Baylor does not care. Like,
yeah. No, it
uh,
was. Yeah, he definitely let his emotions get the best of him, and
and you know what? I'm sorry. The best teams do get the better calls. Let me look at the free throw discrepancy uh in that game. You can keep talking. You know.
well, to go off of kind of Dan Hurley complaining about the refs, I mean, there is no excuse for what Walter Clayton Jr. did to you at the end of the game. I mean, you had the game won. Like that was your game to win. You lost.
They were winning the whole game.
Yeah, that you blew it. You can't blame that on the refs. I mean, you had the lead, you had the momentum, and you let it slip away.
Okay, so UConn, they were 19 for 22 in the free throw line. Um, Florida 22 for 34 from the free throw
So
line.
getting outshot by 12, I think any coach would be frustrated with that discrepancy.
But at the same time, you were winning the whole game.
Right.
Florida, they drove the ball more. Um, Look, then sometimes you just gotta calm down, move on to the next one, next season.
Right. I mean, the rest had nothing to do with when Walter Clayton hit a step back fadeaway three to put a dagger into the game. That was not because of the refs. That's just basketball.
What did we? So what should Dan Hurley learn from this experience?
Well, I think he was feeling very arrogant coming into a season where he was a back-to-back national championship champion, and rightfully so. I mean, you're on top of the mountain. You just signed a massive contract. You're probably feeling untouchable. People are going in all season, three-peat, three-peat, three-peat. And I mean, let's be honest, they were not an impressive team for most of the season. Um, you got into the tournament, you did all right, and you lost to a better team. I mean, Florida is a better team than Connecticut. So I think you come back in the next season, you come back hungry, and hopefully have humbled yourself a little bit more, and you're kind of ready to get back to more coaching and less time in front of the media.
Um, the real answer is no crying in basketball.
No crying. That's right. I agree with you. You gotta go hit the chalk again and figure out the plan of attack for next season.
Okay, so let's go on to the Sweet 16. Is there a team? Is there a number one seed that you see losing?
That's I'm taking a look and trying to see who can I see. So I will say Duke, no chance that they lose to Arizona. Um, the most vulnerable, and this, I think what a lot of people would probably go with, if I had to guess, is they would say Michigan against Auburn. Um, I think Vlad and Matthew Wolf, those two big 7-footers for Michigan, are going to be really appealing to a lot of people, and they're going to be able to go against Janai Broome and Caldwell and have a presence down low. I think Auburn is going to blow them out of the water. I have my eye more on that Houston Purdue matchup. I believe last I looked, Houston's about a 7.5 point favorite. Um, I think Matt Painter as a coach is severely underrated. I think he was blown off a bit because they had the absolute behemoth Zach Edey, and people said, "Oh, Matt Painter and Purdue's not good. They just have someone that's bigger than everybody else." I think he's an excellent coach. I think Purdue with Braden Smith has one of the best point guards in the entire country. And if you want to beat a Houston team who is going to be in your face defensively all game long, You need a strong veteran point guard who can hit shots, make the plays, make the passes, have the composure, and that's Braden Smith to me. So I think I like that matchup for Purdue. If I had to pick a number one team to go down, I would go with Purdue beating Houston.
Interesting. I was gonna say Auburn because I think Auburn they've been playing hard all season. You know, that's just kind of Bruce Pearl's message to these
Yeah,
guys. Hard, but Houston, you know, they're not the best shooting team, but I still can't see Purdue beating Houston. I see Michigan. They're hot right now. You know, they won the Big Ten championship. You know, like you said, they have those two big guys. You know, Auburn. You know, yeah, I mean, they're good, but you know, they've been struggling lately.
I would agree with that. They did not end their season very well. I think they ended on a 3-4 record to end the season after being red hot all year. But when I look at that team, I mean, their backup point guard Pettiford is he's got some serious game to him. Um, and to me, him and Baker Mazzara are going to be a problem for that Michigan defense. Um, I really think that Vlad and Matthew Wolf are going to be neutralized by Auburn size. Janai Broom is likely going to be National Player of the Year. Dylan Cardwell, who talk about a guy that knows his role. I mean, he is in there to be a big body and to play defense and to rebound, and he does it well. And I mean, it's no secret what Michigan wants to do. They want to feed the ball to the big guys. And I think that's going to be very difficult for them against an Auburn team.
I mean, I look. I will say this: Maryland can shoot, but I think Florida. You know, they'll get some. They got some rest. I don't. I think Florida will be fine.
Agreed.
Arizona. Caleb Love. We know he's a good player. I just don't think that's enough. I think Duke has way too many good big time players. I just think Arizona will be overmatched. Unfortunately, but if Maryland can shoot the ball, I think they can make that Florida game very interesting.
What I'm going to be interested about with that Maryland Florida matchup, Maryland's bench does not log very many minutes. How is that going to work with a very deep Florida team? How are you going to keep up the pace with them when you're playing, 6 or 7 guys for a Maryland team the entire game? And is that going to come back to bite you?
Yeah, no, for sure. By the way, do you think that was a travel?
No, you can't call that there.
I didn't ask you that. Was that a travel?
Was it a travel? I mean, if you want to go by the rule book, yeah, it's a travel, but I'm glad the refs did not call it. It's not a call that is going to be made in that situation.
Yeah, I agree. Um, do you think Duke is the best team overall in this tournament?
Yeah, and I don't even think it's close.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you just have too many big time players, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I think you look at dude, he's just good. He's just good, and he's just a playmaker. Cooper Flag. You know, I mean, Brown and I just saw Brown could play. You know, he's a very good defender. Um, you know, they just have three guys that could literally go drafted.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at Cooper Flag, is going to be, if he decides to come out, he's the number one pick. There's no contest there. Um, Con Knipple, I believe I'm saying that right. Knipple.
Just
Um,
something like that.
yeah, he's feel like hasn't gotten as much attention because of the stars that Duke has. He's going to probably be a lottery pick himself. And then down low, they got Maluak, who is just, in my opinion, the best shot blocker in college basketball. I mean, they're a gigantic team size wise. They're incredibly skilled. Tyrese Proctor, Conca Nipple, they're going to kill you from outside. I mean, their backup point guard, Zion James, guy looks like he lives in the weight room. He comes in and he just bullies you. He gets downhill. He puts that shoulder into you. They just every single way that they can, they beat you up. They get you down low. They get you mid range. They get you from the 3 point line. Their defense is suffocating. If you manage to get to the paint, you've got big guys on Duke that are going to step in and turn you away. So I don't see Arizona certainly being able to match up with that. I mean, I think Caleb Love, I know a few years ago he had that game when he was on North Carolina. I think Caleb Love is going to shoot 25 shots and make 8 of them against Duke this time.
Okay. You know what I don't like about the NCAA tournament? This was over the weekend, Sunday. I don't understand why games start at 10 o'clock. And this is why I love the NFL. Because I think they make times reasonable.
Yep,
Like, so, I wanted to watch that Oregon versus Arizona game, but you know what? It started at Sunday at 10 o'clock. You got to make it easier, Eastern time zone.
I would agree. Yeah, I mean,
Um,
10 o'clock's too late.
Izzo was complaining about it.
Yeah, I mean, if you were a coach, and I mean, you don't want your guys going out there and you're playing a game and you're finishing up at midnight. I mean, I agree. They gotta move that up.
Like
It's not fair to
you can play two games at the exact same time. You know, that's why we love March Madness. We can watch games at the same time. Like
Yeah, absolutely.
this is not football. Like it's not. You can watch multiple games at the same time.
Yeah, get a YouTube TV membership and split the screen.
Exactly. Like I'm sorry. Like I'm not watching 10 p.m. games on a freaking Sunday.
No, no, come on, got to go to work in the morning. Can't do it.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, look, and you know, have the last game be around 7 o'clock. You know, it just makes life easier. You know, on the weekends.
I agree. I mean, and you look during the course of the regular season. I mean, how many people are staying up to watch the Gonzagas and the UCLA's and the St. Mary's because they're playing so late? I mean,
It's ridiculous. It's
yeah.
ridiculous. Last thing, because we haven't really talked in a while. Who do you have going to the Final Four?
Duke will be in the Final Four. I don't think that's going to be a question. Here, let me pull up here. Let me take a look. So I've got Duke. I think Alabama gets bounced by BYU. I don't have them in. And it's as I sit here and look. You know,
I'm gonna tell you mine.
yeah, go ahead because
I got
I'm looking here and I'm
I
trying to
got Duke.
reevaluate.
I got Duke, Florida. I got Michigan State, and I got Tennessee. I got I got Florida and Duke meeting in the national championship, and I have Duke winning.
I like that. Let me pull up. So you have Tennessee, obviously, then going over Kentucky.
Yes, even though they lost, I think that's the best game of the weekend.
Yeah, I
Or
actually agree with that because I believe during the regular season Kentucky beat them twice. It's very hard to beat a team 3 times.
they did.
Um, I'll read off to you who I have in my Final Four from my bracket that's just been slaughtered.
Trust me, same with my bets. I'm done for the year. Done for the year.
So I had Auburn, I had St. John's, BYU, and Tennessee in my Final Four. I don't think that's what it's going to be now because I had BYU over Duke. The more I watch Duke, the more I think they're just not beatable.
So are you changing your? I mean, you gotta change your prediction, obviously.
Yeah, so I think you're going to see um, Auburn and Michigan State, and then you'll see Duke in there along with. I'm going to go along with Kentucky. I'm gonna take Kentucky. Mark Pope.
Really? So hold on. Michigan State and Auburn will play in the Elite Eight.
You're certainly right about that. I've got Auburn over Michigan State. So Auburn, Florida,
Okay.
Duke, and Kentucky.
Well, fellas, you got Mike Schmidt's picks. You know, uh, hey, you know what? Thank you for being on the show, and I really appreciate your thoughts about the first weekend of March Madness. And hey, enjoy the games.
You as well. Thanks for having me. This was a
Uh,
lot of fun.
yes, yes, and you know, I think. Well, I think the games will be interesting. You won't. I don't think you'll see any blowouts. Actually, you might see some blowouts, but we'll still watch them. But hey, go follow Mike Schmidt. Go follow me, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks, Eddie.